Hey, what's up everyone? Tim here from Ung Studio, and today we're going to be making a wood shell lamp. After making the wood spiral light in the previous video, I really wanted to make another wood skeletal frame that would actually become a lamp itself using finger joints, wood slats, and a circular frame. So for this project, I'll start off by showing you the design that I came up with. So the reason why I call this a wood shell lamp is because it's inspired by the shape of a shell. The way that it's going to be designed is it has a curved wood slat structure that'll come together and look something like this. Now, as it starts to go out to the sides, it'll actually have this curving feature here, which is building off of the same concept as the previous project. The way that it'll work is the same way that the previous project had these wood slats that were 1/4 of an inch longer at the end from the previous one, and each piece afterwards had another 1/4 inch difference. This will do the same thing, but instead it'll use a curve. And as this curve gets longer, it'll have the same idea of having 1/4 of an inch difference between the previous piece and the next. And that's what you're seeing here. So each of these pieces are about 1/4 of an inch longer than the previous one. So each of these pieces will be 1/4 of an inch longer, and that'll create the illusion, just like the previous video, where the lamp will look as if it's actually growing as it goes back. Now, when you view this from the front angle looking straight at it, it'll actually look something more like this, where you have a short piece on both sides, and once you get to the center, it'll be somewhere back here. It was actually inspired by the throne in Game of Thrones. I just couldn't come up with an actual name of it, and when I saw a picture of a clamshell, I thought it looked kind of like a clamshell. So the way it comes together is it'll start looking something like this when you look at it head on. And I really like the form of this, so I wanted to try making a lamp that mimicked this shape. And that's what we're going to make today. The height of this lamp is going to be 12 inches. And the diameter of it at the tightest point will be a little more than 6 inches. And as we start growing out to all of the points from the curves, it'll probably come out to roughly 12 inches. So it'll be sort of a square. It really depends on how tight I decide to make it when I make it in a 3D model. And this particular project will come together just using finger joints, just like the previous lamp that I made. So as we have all of these wood slats coming together, they'll have these little squares cut out of them. And then we'll have that circular frame from the previous project. And the circular frame will have the notches cut out of them as well, and these will be used for all of the finger joints. Now this will go all the way around the entire project. And we'll have 2 of these circular frames just to add additional support to all of the wood slats as they're going into the frame. So that's the design of this wood shell lamp. In terms of the material that I'll be using for this project, I'll be using the same 1/8 inch cherry plywood that I used to make the wood spiral light. I'll also be adding a little bit of wood glue and all of the finger joints that might not come together with a tight enough friction fit to hold the entire lamp together. To cut all of the pieces for this project, I'll be using my Glowforge Laser Cutter because it'll give me extremely precise cuts for all of the wood slats and the 2 different circular frames, and ensure that all of the finger joints will lock into each other when it's all cut. I'll show you guys how all of this is designed and what it looks like in a 3D model that I created in the next step. To create a 3D model of the wood shell lamp, I use this software called Rhinoceros. I like to create 3D models of all of my projects because it helps me visualize how everything is going to work and come together. So let me show you what it looks like in the model. So what you're seeing here are the 2 circular frames with rectangles along the perimeter. The rectangles are going to be the finger joints for all of the wood slats to come together and slot into. You will see them here on the wood slats. All of the wood slats are curved, so you can actually see the first piece here being the shortest one, and then the 1/4 inch difference that I was talking about during the design portion of this video. All of the pieces are 1/4 inch longer than a previous one. This entire set that you're seeing here is going to be half of the wood slats that we need for the project. We'll be duplicating this and having 2 different sets that'll come together and create a model that looks something like this. In terms of how the pieces come together to create this wood shell lamp, the way that it works is that the 2 circular frames that I was talking about will be located a certain distance apart from each other. After they're located, all of the wood slats will come together and actually slot right in. So you can see the wood slat with its finger jointed piece here in yellow, and when I highlight the frame, you'll see the same thing for the frame. They'll overlap each other by a little bit, and that'll allow them to be friction fit or wood glued together. Now the final form of the wood lamp will look something like this. So that's the 3D model that I created for this wood shell lamp to help me visualize how all of the pieces should be coming together, as well as coming up with all of the pieces to be laser cut on my Glowforge laser cutter. Now let's move into the next step where I'll show you how all of the pieces are cut, engraved, and assembled, and then I'll show you what the final wood shell lamp looks like. So that's how I designed and made this wood shell lamp. From the beginning to the end of the project, it took me about 5 hours, and that includes the amount of time that it took to design a project, 3D model it, cut all of the pieces, and then assemble it to create what you're seeing here. The easiest part of this process was actually assembling all of the pieces because all of them were precisely cut with finger joints at the exact locations that I needed them. I actually had to use some wood glue because some of the pieces weren't friction fitting together as well as I wanted to. If you like this project, make sure you check out some of my previous videos and remember to like, subscribe, and follow me for more.